So in March this year, as some of you probably know, the United Nations has started a process together with about 193 countries from the world to initiate a global treaty instrument fighting plastic pollution. And since then, a very fascinating journey has started. We as TOMRA, we are very, very keen on this process, and we are supporting it. We have taken the occasion to develop our own position paper with 10 recommendations for such a treaty. Our CEO Tove has handed it over to Inga Andersen personally in New York a couple of weeks ago. So this issue is very, very close to our heart, and it's even more close to the heart of the NGOs, and WWF is a leading one in the world, as we all know. So we are very proud and thankful to have Alois here, who would give us an insight on how he and the NGOs look at that process, what to expect from it, what are the steps, what is a realistic outcome, and all of that. So Alois, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for introducing me. That saves some time of my presentation. Let me quickly go through what happened up to now. So, because I assume that everyone from you are on different levels of information on where we stand. So let's start right now. And as you know, no, not you, but my invitees, they said, I'm a bit in a hurry. So, why is this treaty so urgently needed? You know all the way what happens to plastic from production until the last stage. It becomes waste. 1/3 of the waste ends up in nature. It accumulates in the oceans. It has disastrous impact on wildlife, and it's threatening the whole food chain. So on, we have major challenges. So one is that the current framework lacks scale to drive system change. Foundational reporting capabilities are lacking, and regulations are misaligned versus the value chain. And targeted intervention need to accelerate the change. So those is the situation we have now. We have a very scattered approach all over the world, a lot of agreements, but the influx of plastic into the nature is still growing. So, and this is what has just been presented in March. The United Nations Environment Assembly took the decision to end plastic pollution. So to create a new treaty to end plastic pollution. So a global treaty instead of scattered regional ones. I always show this picture, which looks very boring, but if you look at the right side, in the right corner, at the right side, you see how few states at the very beginning were in favor of a global treaty, and how it grew over the time until, and that is the blue part, the decision was taken to create this new global treaty. And then at the end, it was, let's say, all states that were at UNEP 5.2 agreed. So let's have some glimpses on what has been decided. So it decided that the Intergovernmental Negotiation Committee is to develop an international legally binding instrument. So an international negotiation committee has been more or less, it has been founded and is starting its work now in November in Uruguay, and it is 1 out of 5. And it decided that the abbreviation is INC. The INC, in its stipulation of the instrument, is to consider the following. And A is obligations, measures, and voluntary approaches. So the whole range of measures in the treaty. So the step 1 was happened in July in Dakar, in Senegal, because at UNEP 5.2 it has been requested, so the executive director of the United Nations for Environmental Programme, to convene an ad hoc open-ended working group to hold one meeting during the first half of 2022, and that happened in May in Dakar in Senegal. And it was thought that the UN member states negotiate and agree on rules of procedure and other institutional provisions, but they didn't finalize their job. But most of it is done, but it will have its influence on the first INC. So this is the schedule in front of us. It starts, as I said, with the first INC start in the week of 28th November in Uruguay, in Punta del Este, and it is planned with to end with the INC 5. We don't have the location now, in early December 2024. And to be honest, usually NGOs are asking, well, why does it take so long? It must be quicker. But 2 years until it is this treaty has to be negotiated and finalized, the negotiation is very, very short time. So if it happens and everything goes like it should, a so-called, and I still have to read that, the Conference of Plenipotentiaries in mid-2025. This is the conference which is more or less signing off on what has been negotiated. Okay, so what happened in the meantime? We have two, let's say, high ambition coalitions. One is coming from member states, and meanwhile, I think around 30 member states of the UN are already members of the high ambition coalition to end plastic pollution by states. And don't want to read all of this, but you see they gave themselves key deliverables for success. This is one thing. The second coalition is a business coalition. The High Ambition Business Coalition for the new treaty on plastic pollution. And you see only some members of this treaty, and it has been, let's say, prepared or convened by WWF and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. Organizing the structure. But it is not a structure where WWF or EMF will be members. The members are companies. So from the virgin plastic producers up to retailers, the whole value chain. And they agreed in their founding document also to a very ambitious treaty. So those two processes are very, very important to drive this process. So now, this is like from WWF, our concept, because it's very complicated and complex. And we put it in 3 columns. The first, we call it eliminate. But it starts from, let's say, an immediate ban at the beginning of the treaty, but also for a phase out, as slow or as quick as may be, for products, plastic products that are not urgently needed, that are most prone to pollute the environment, and that can be replaced by other things. But this not be, that will be a small portion of plastics. What we think is the most important one is the circulate column. So where more and more we come to a process where plastic can be put in, can be can be circulated. So nowadays, you know, there is all of a very small portion of recycling. Most of it is because that the plastic products, they are so complex that it's currently too expensive to circulate them or to bring them back into the circle. So materials and products that cannot be eliminated or substituted must be run in circles. And the last stage will be the safely managed, so at the stage when hopefully plastic is already run in circles, but you all know it's only possible for a certain amount of plastics, and at least at the end there has to be a safe manage of the rest, and that, for example, especially needs the institutions, the preconditions, especially for poor countries, to collect the remaining plastic and to safely manage them at the end of their life. So those three columns, eliminate, circulate, and safely manage, should, from our point of view, build the framework. So how would the new treaty address existing challenges? So what we don't have are agreed definitions. We need policies where we agree on common policy framework. We need a clear reporting in order to, and in a simplified way, in order to make countries and companies accountable. And we need implementation support. As I said, especially developing countries don't have the means to implement such a treaty on their own. They need knowledge transfer, technology transfer, and I think that's interesting for some of your companies as well, as a new business model. So those are the challenges the treaty has to cover. So why could this bring us forward? Experience shows in two experiences. One is the REACH regulations you are all very aware of. And the 3 years following the introduction of REACH regulations on the hazardous chemicals saw an 86% increase in patents. The Montreal Protocol, a real success story. The ones for few who are, let's say, experienced at the time of the 80s, know that at that time we were very, let's say, not very optimistic about the ozone layer and what that means for mankind. It was becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and nothing helped. And the Montreal Protocol gave a strong market signal to move towards alternative refrigerants. It provided long-term visibility, which built a solid platform for businesses to invest and innovate as they knew the market would stable. So these two success stories we should have in mind when we talk about the treaty to end plastic pollution. This, from our point of view, from WWF, the only way to to cope with this challenge, where up to now, I don't know, 50, 100 different agreements didn't lead to a reduction of plastic in nature. And that we have to turn. And that's it already. And I hope in this quick run through, you saw what this treaty that is to be negotiated in the next 2 years is all about. And I'm happy if you had questions and I could answer them.
Yeah. Thank you, Alois. Very, very interesting. It's a topic which is very close to our heart, to TOMRA, as I said already in the beginning. These were precious insights and which are also helpful for me and my team. And I just heard you will be in Uruguay at the Intergovernmental Negotiation Committee. We will also be there with 2 people from TOMRA, and we hope for some good announcements also by the local host. I don't want to say more because it's still work in progress, but this should be good, hopefully. Are there any questions to Alois?
So my question is, or one of the questions is, you are telling us, so the companies, many companies, big brand owners, big names are involved in the whole process. How can you, not you personally, but the whole organizations avoid that they just do it like greenwashing, you know?
Yeah, that's a very important question. We will see during the negotiation process where, let's say, the danger of greenwashing is about. What kind is to be tried to be watered down from what side of the community? I mean, negotiating only is the sake of UN member states. But as I already heard, more companies and more industries will be present in Uruguay, the first INC, and that is completely different to all the years before, before it came to the decision this March. There were only a few industry representatives in that situation. Now it will be completely different, and we know that some countries have a very important plastics industry, and we already heard. So from my colleague, I don't tell you names, but there is already a certain pressure in some countries. So how to avoid it? That's really an interesting question. But we have to be to watch what happens in the next 2 years, especially on what topics. And we, as WWF and also the other NGOs, it's the role of civil society organization to have an eye on this and to discover this. So the public and the NGOs and so on, it's their role to be very, very, alerted.
If I may add to that question, a similar question from my side. You have talked about a number of, let's say, 20 plus countries led by Norway and Rwanda, I think, to build a high ambitious country coalition to influence.
You mean the business coalition?
No, not the business coalition.
The countries.
The country, the government coalition.
It's a bit confusing. It's the high ambition coalition.
High ambition coalition, but it's only countries.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Then there is, let's say, a mix of NGOs and businesses, which is the WWF / Ellen MacArthur Foundation, High Ambitious Coalition, which you referred to, and we are also a member of that.
Yeah. But I must interrupt you in a way. So we are not a member. We just helped that organized. But members are only companies and industries.
Okay. So, but still, there is a country coalition. There is something where WWF and Ellen MacArthur are at least involved. What I am missing is, at this end, the pure NGO coalition. So where is the coalition of, let's say, Greenpeace, WWF, Break Free from Plastic? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
is that
completely
also happening, or?
You can, if you look at the process before UNEA 5.2, there also was the business coalition. There was the number of countries that supported the resolution that led to the decision, and there was an NGO coalition, but I think it was 800 or 900 NGOs from all over the world, and that is still working together, and I think will sooner or later come out with their joint statement, their joint position. Yes.
Oh, okay, good to know. Good to know. Yeah.
So we build on what we had in the lead up to UNEA.
Okay. Good. We say thank you to Alois. We will be involved. We will meet again. At least people from my team will meet you again in Uruguay, and we have high hopes that WWF will continue to push, because without push there will not be success. So you are needed. Thank you very much, Alois.
Yeah, thank you.